Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Bryan Williams, one of the artistic directors for Brata Productions. Brata is a Jamaican word, a local expression meaning something extra. And that's what this organization tries to do every time it mounts a show, puts on an event, or goes out into the community. So, around for 10. Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Bryan Williams, one of the directors for Brata Productions. Brata is a Jamaican word, a colloquial expression meaning something extra. And that's what this organization tries to do every time a show, puts on an event, or goes out into the community. So we've been around for over 10 years. We're a non-profit arts organization dedicated to the preservation of Caribbean culture, to the promotion and showcasing work that is from the Caribbean diaspora or about the different territories in the Caribbean. We have been putting on a number of events for the last 10 years. And today is the BANKRA Caribbean Cultural Arts Festival. It's a lot of items and performances from the Caribbean. And we invite you to look at our website, visit it, and in this time when it is even more crucial, stand firm in our beliefs. Brata stands in unity with all those across the nation and across the world protesting racial injustice, inequality, and police brutality. Stay safe in this time of COVID. Vigilant, aware, remember to take care of yourself, and so embrace joy, embrace your culture, and we invite you now to embrace our culture, a culture that is dear to every single person of African ancestry and who have come from the soil of these territories. Jamaica, myself, but always collaborated with different Caribbean organizations, and we seek to continue to do this. Realize that this work is a big one, and after all of us have left, we have to have something to have. So, in the spirit of Sankofa, where we're looking back, we're going to give you some nostalgia. We're very good at doing old-time stuff. We're also looking forward. We're also looking at the people coming up, the people that are interested in doing something modern, experimentation with the culture. We're supporting all of it. We're promoting all of it. So please visit our website, www.brataproductions.org. Donate, buy something. But we also have information on where you can spend your money. Black-owned businesses, persons of color, where you can donate to worthy causes as well. So relax if you can today. If not, get out there and make some noise and do it well.
Michelle.
Sharon is such a...
Got a fan blowing on me here.
We're live, guys. Okay. So we're live. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Tinglin. I am the proud CEO and founder of the Sweetwater Blossom Foundation. We live every day to breathe life into our at-risk communities. And today, I am just so excited to bring along my awesome friends, inspirational mentors, to be a part of the BANKRA Festival. It is Caribbean American Heritage Month because you know what? We come from all over. We're part of diaspora. But at the end of the day, Allah, we are one, right? So we have the wonderful Miss Lois Green, Dr. Lois Green, I must say, Dr. Lois Green, who will be our moderator, and my wonderful panelist, Miss Norma Rogers. And if you are in the nursing world, you know that Norma is the person to be around. Just being in her presence alone is enough. And you know, the coach, the nursing coach, the pioneer coach. If you want to be a CNO, you need to know this person, Mrs. Sharon Addison. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. I will hand you over to our wonderful moderator, Dr. Lois Green, so we could enjoy this journey. Dr. Green.
And thank you so much, Michelle. You know, Michelle was very modest. We're all nurses. I just want to say that as we kick off this session. And during this pandemic, we really sort of put our heads together and said, you know, what can we share? There's a lot of information that's out there about the pandemic, and we certainly want to recognize that wisdom comes from many different places. And when you think about the Caribbean and the remedies that our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers have passed down, it has helped a lot of people to get through this pandemic, because it is important to know that it's the health, your own immune system being healthy, that has gotten 80% of the people through this pandemic. So just recognizing that we're here today to share with you. So Michelle, I'm going to just read a couple lines of her bio. She's a master's prepared health professional with diverse experiences in emergency room nursing, interventional cardiac. Basically, she knows everything. All right. But most important, she's an active member of the Jamaica diaspora. She is has deeply planted roots in Hanover and St. James. She is a past student of Coronaldi Avenue Primary and Montego Bay High School for Girls in St. James. So just, I think one of the things that's a common thread for all of our panelists today is that we care about our communities. So you'll hear from Michelle Tingling first. Second, you will hear from Miss Norma Rogers. And I like to call her Powerhouse Norma Rogers, because she started her career as a licensed practical nurse, and now is the first African-American president of the New Jersey Nursing Students Association, and she is the current president of the New Jersey State Nurses Association, Region 3, that's Union and Essex counties, and just a real staunch advocate for nursing in every arena. So you will hear from Norma second, and then our final panelist is Miss Sharon Addison. And I am happy to say that Sharon is the founder of the Caribbean and Global Women of Power Summit, an annual live event that empowers and unites women across the country. She is also the founder of the Awesome Power Within Academy, which offers personal and professional development programs and resources. Sharon is a best-selling author and the host of an award-winning Spotlight on Gospel.org radio show. All right, Sharon, we have to talk after this. I love doing radio. All right, so basically our theme here, what we're here to share with you, is Caribbean remedies during the pandemic. I'm gonna let each of our panelists sort of have 5 minutes, and then we're gonna have a conversation about the remedies that, and let me just say this as a disclaimer, none of us are physicians, but we are here to give our experience about food and healing and health, and how we want to support you in being the healthiest you. So we're going to start with Michelle.
So I am very passionate about this, right? About, home remedies, Caribbean remedies, because my mom was a nurse midwife in Jamaica, but she is really entrenched when it comes to the culture. And my grandmother Blossom was too. Okay. So when this whole pandemic started with Corona or COVID-19, I was like, well, how are we going to protect ourselves? Well, you're supposed to use a little bit of garlic as antibiotic, a little bit of pimento, kind of heal the body, right? And then you have pineapple, you have a little bit of turmeric, you have some ginger. So for my personal experience, instead of making a little blend and having a teaspoon every morning. I misinterpreted,
Oh dear.
and I had a glass every 8 hours for the last couple of weeks. I think it was a little bit much, but I'll tell you what, I'm corona free. But it comes back to a culture where we actually have to eat from the land. And we have to ensure that once we are eating from the land, we don't have to worry about any kind of chemicals, right? And we do not have to even think that, okay, you know what, if we have too much ginger, something might happen. Only thing will happen if you have too much ginger, it'll be a little bit extra spicy, a little bit extra hot.
And
but at the end of the
fiber.
day, your body will heal, right? So that's something I got from my mother, because she had something called Ram Goat National that I thought was called Ram Goat Run Along, but it's called Ram, right? My mother had the sarsaparilla. Don't ask me how she got it through customs, right? But she had the chini root. She had everything in that house boiling. Let me tell you, right now my family is healed and I'm happy and they're healthy thanks to all the natural roots that came through customs into New Jersey.
But don't let that go too far, Michelle. You actually had family members that overcame the corona using,
Yes. Yes, and I'm not a healthcare practitioner in terms of prescribing natural remedies, but my mom will swear to it, especially the Ram Goat National. I have to do some research on that to see actually how it works. But even using the garlic and the ginger blend and the lemon, for me it works. And my family, they swear by it. And these are natural things. Now you can't overdose on it. And I lost one cousin to corona. He was in his 40s. And my parents were very sick with it, but they overcame thanks to all these natural remedies. And, a few other family members, my best friend lost her dad. And we're still here. We're still here. So, that's my experience with it. And, for me, it's proven. Others might be different.
Okay. And that should be the message. I think if anyone should know, I think there's a lot of information out there. People are thinking that, it's a death sentence. And there are a lot of people, I don't want to take that away, that have passed from it. But the majority of people who have gotten COVID-19 have lived. So we just want to make sure that we share that message, that if you take care of you and be the healthiest you can be, you have a better outcome than if you don't. All right. So we're going to hear from next Miss Norma. I always want to call her the president of the American Nurses Association. I'm putting it into the
just put it out there. Put it out there. Put it out there. Put it out there.
All right.
We know that is my future goal. So we're just going to keep putting it out there into the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So my background, so I'm not from the Caribbean. I am born and raised here in the U.S., but my family comes from the South. So my dad grew up on the farm, in the plantations of the South, where they also used a lot of the different remedies. And my father, I must say, is probably the healthiest 82-year-old that I know. This man still cooks all his fresh, like you said, Michelle, he cooks his food fresh.
Yes.
He doesn't do canned fruits and vegetables. He still walks 3 miles a day. He's the healthiest, as his doctor puts it, he's the healthiest diabetic she has ever met. Diabetes, not because of what he eats, but because of our heritage. One of the things that stuck out to me during the COVID was a lot of people, and I had to actually research it, was the turmeric powder. A lot of people were constantly talking about the turmeric powder, so I had to look it up, and because it's for inflammation, it really made sense why they would use it during the COVID, because there's parts of the COVID disease that causes the body all types of inflammation. And so a lot of people were turning to the turmeric powders, and like Michelle said, the gingers. And so I started looking up a lot of those during the COVID crisis when we were deep into it, because it was interesting to see what I was seeing on Facebook that people said they were drinking. And I'm like, okay, so exactly what is that?
What is that?
Here in the US, I got the CDC telling me to do this, A, B, C, and D. I got the World Health Organization telling me to do B, C, D, E, and F. And so there was a lot of confusion information out there. So I ended up doing a lot of research for myself to find out what would work best if I was to get sick. I've been blessed. I mean, I work from home, so I wasn't out there except for when I go out into the stores. But I think the thing that people need to understand is we do need to listen to your health ministries. your whoever your country's health advisors are, and then try to pull out what best fits you within the messages that they're pulling out, and not looking at the social medias and everything to try to get your health remedies from, because that just don't work.
Right.
Because everybody is playing doctor when not everybody is. As healthcare providers, I think it's important for us to take care of ourselves as well as our communities, and we can't do that unless we do the first and then the other. What I like to tell the community at this point is a lot of people put their other health issues on the back when COVID hit and stop going to the doctors. I'm an oncology nurse by training, and one of the things that we're seeing on the oncology side, and that's starting to come out and they're starting to research, is people put their chemo treatments in their oncology, whatever treatment they were on for their cancer, they put it on hold during the COVID because they didn't want to go out. So then what's happening at this point is the cancer is still growing, but you're not treating it. Our high blood pressures are still going up, but we're not treating it because we were afraid to go out of the house to go to the doctors. Some people didn't have the technology to do the telemedicine. And then when they did get on the phones with their doctor, they got on the phone with a phone call, they're not telling them everything that's going on. So a lot of times we as healthcare providers, we see what's going on before you even tell us, just by looking at you. Because you can be telling me one thing, but your facial expression is telling me I need to dig a little deeper. So what I encourage the public to do at this point is please start making those calls and following up with your healthcare providers, because you may have not gotten the COVID-19, but you still have underlying health issues that will still put you at risk when this rebounds around again, because it ain't over yet.
Excellent advice, Norma. And that is so key. When you look at the data, people with those other health conditions that are out of control definitely did poorly when it came to surviving COVID than people who didn't. So excellent word. All right, next is Sharon Addison. Sharon?
Hey, everybody. Once again, oh my goodness, I am so excited. And Michelle, queen of all nurses, darling.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me. And of course, Norma, Dr. Norma, I see you all over. You've been very, you've been at the forefront of supporting nurses all over, and I commend you for that. And Lois, we met some time ago. You were the facilitator of a panel in New York a few years ago. Oh gosh, her name. Why would her name be Coach Lalisa's? I think it was it Coach Lalisa?
Oh yes.
I thought you had a great voice, because I'm in radio and I'm always into voices. So look at this. We came back full circle.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. And once again, thank you for inviting me. I don't know if it's because I'm Jamaican, she invited me. She must know some rare.
You understand.
She's looking at me. No, okay, she went Caribbean there. But, I think this is quite interesting that we are having this conversation, because a lot of us in the Caribbean and Africa and different parts of the world who are familiar with certain home remedies. And I thank you, Lois, for having that disclaimer, because we're not trying to replace anything. We're telling people, yes, check with your physicians. But also there are certain little things that we have used. And my experience with the coronavirus, the last time I worked was March 7th. Of this year, of course, and it was in the ICU. So it was right before it hit. I think like it really hit that particular facility. And I think it hit them like maybe the end of that week into the next week.
Wow.
And so it was quite interesting, because it was a decision made, working privately, and also some of us who actually go into the hospitals. So I had to make a decision, what I was going to choose to do. And I chose, like, listen, I'm going to pull back, because I don't understand this thing. And I think that we were caught off guard. Was it? I have my own thoughts around that, but the revelation to me was like, yeah, we were kind of caught off guard. So people had to do what they needed to do and how to protect themselves. And my particular, just coming into connection with it, I don't even know how to put it into words, but a good friend of ours, he became symptomatic. And having daily conversations with this particular individual was one of the most interesting things. I actually felt like I was at work because I work both places, ICU and the emergency room. And what I thought was quite interesting, what I started to figure out on my own, yes, it does affect them mentally, because there were certain things he told me that he did that he didn't do. But one of the biggest things was just to make sure he was hydrated. I had to make certain that every day, or even 2-3 times a day, I would say to his wife, and they're Caribbean, I said, listen, get some ginger, crush some ginger,
Yes.
put it in the warm water. And we're very big on garlic, very big on garlic. If you guys don't have garlic right now, even around where we are, the price of garlic skyrocketed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the ginger, they started to notice how we are purchasing trend. So I was like, crush the garlic. I don't care if he doesn't like it. Get him to drink it. Get the lemon, get the turmeric. The turmeric, you do need a little cayenne pepper in order for it to work. And so, but the real thing was having those warm fluids as often as possible.
Yes.
And getting that individual to move. So yes, using my nursing knowledge. And what we figured out was the movement for patients, that it was very important that they're turned, that they're moved. But like I said, he was at home and I was on the phone, just making sure that this particular individual stay connected to their doctor. He really didn't, because he was a male, and he said, man, we can't beat this thing.
We can't, right.
I wanted to find out. So,
and let me tell you, that perspective is important, you know?
And I was like, no, dude. I was like, dude, you gotta move. And, so yeah, those were the things that we used. We also found out early that about the Motrin was a no-no. So by then we pretty much knew what was happening with the fevers and so forth. So yes, guys, I have a little bit of on Instagram here. So a few people, I'm trying to tell them where to find the thing online so they can see me. So that's the thing. Yes, I never leave. I'm a little bit extra. So I have my teacup, but there's lemon. There's always lemon in there, because why? We're understanding people who have other underlying factors such as diabetes. And sometimes if you get an infection, you become acidotic. What does the lemon do? When it's digested, right? The body becomes alkaline. So we have to really understand why we do the things that we do. So for me, that was my biggest experience with COVID, and how certain folks got around it. And it's the same thing I did for my family. So.
All important. We're excellent. Now, I'm not sure where we'll see the questions, but we're just want to let everyone know that we are here to answer your questions to the best of our ability. So the conversation will continue. But if you have questions, please let us know by posting that in the chat. And I'm not sure how we're getting them.
Okay, so I'm actually checking the chat, and I will post those questions. Okay. But my question for you, Dr. Green, because you're a guru and you're awesome at mentorship for our young nurses, because I know there are future nurses watching, and there are young nurses out there who are watching this webinar. What would you tell your new nurses, your future nurses, in terms of, engaging patients who want to utilize their cultural condiments, right? The ginger, things that are not prescribed, but they're within the hospital setting, and, not wanting to utilize the medication, but asking for all these other things. What would you say to them? Because you want to encourage compliance, yet what is it? Yes,
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to say this, the most important thing is if you can stay out of the hospital, meaning that you don't have the cough, the fever, the shortness of breath, and your O2 saturation is not so low that you really need to get supplemental oxygen. Are we talking about the group of people that are in the hospital? How can they best utilize their
it's like nurse patients in the hospital.
This is my advice, right? Basically, one of the things Sharon mentioned that was so critical, and it was sort of just glossed over. She stayed connected with that friend or person daily. That connection. Right now, there are no visitors allowed into the hospital, but most hospitals have either the phone, or there's FaceTime. There's what's the
tablet?
Skype, not Skype. Skype. Anyway, where people can stay connected with your family that's hospitalized or in a facility through whatever means necessary. Meaning that there are advocates, there are, the person that's providing care for them, so that if you want to bring some of the things that are important to your culture, like a ginger tea or lemon water, or, the things that would help your loved one, then just make arrangements to have that happen. Because they do allow you to, give them a cell phone or give them the, a goodie bag kind of a thing on a regular basis. You just need to kind of negotiate with whoever the care provider is and say, he needs to have he likes to drink this, or we want him to. However, these cultural things need to be respected and supported. So as long as it's not, if the person is diabetic and you're trying to bring them a cake, you're not trying to harm them. You certainly want to, bring them things that are going to help support their recovery and their immunity. But as long as it doesn't harm the person in any way, and we've got to be mindful, like if the person is on some sort of one of the things that happens with COVID patients, they're on blood thinners, right? You can't bring them a spinach because it's going to mess up the activation of the medication. So being in conversation with the health care providers as to what you're bringing in and why this is important to their recovery. I think a conversation and constant contact. And we didn't mention how important it is for the person to stay connected. I think one of the most challenging things for people who are in the hospital going through COVID is to just be there all alone. It's really challenging. I taught my 80-year-old mom how to use WhatsApp. Now she talks every day with, somebody in England, one of her good friends in England on a because they're connected. It's a way to stay in community. Community is important to Caribbean culture. We don't let that go just because of the COVID. We find a way to integrate that. So, excellent. Stay connected. The other thing, go ahead.
I just want to ask a question to Sharon, and then I'll put it back with you, Dr. Green.
Okay.
So Sharon, you have been going to, I'm putting you on the hot seat, right? So you've been going to the Caribbean for medical missions for the last couple of years. You're very you're the cornerstone of the Caribbean medical mission in Jersey. Well, it's actually nationwide, right? You're the cornerstone, right? And how has your experience in the medical missions in the Caribbean really allowed you to make a connection with your patients during the pandemic? Did it help you at all that experience that you gained over the last couple of years?
Well, what I'd like to say, I'm a member of the Caribbean Medical Mission of New Jersey, and there are quite a few of them, other organizations. And our last mission was in January, and that was to Ghana. So that was right before everything hit. Wow. And we weren't scheduled to do another mission until 2021. But I think things will change because we've already started to have conversations around how we will do things when it comes to our missions. Because, we're all up in their faces. We're doing blood pressure checks and we're doing everything, adults and pediatrics and all sorts of things you can think of. And that will change. So now there are talks around perhaps telemedicine from here, right? Because remember, some of our physicians and our nurses, when you start to get at a certain age, you may have underlying issues. So now we're starting to think, how are we going to practice with the providers who will be going into the Caribbean? So yes, we do stay connected based upon work that we did back, whether it's OBGYN or there are other issues that they might have had and we need to stay connected with them. I'm saying right now, because we did not go on a mission right now. The last one, like I said, was January, and that was to Ghana. Now, moving forward, our next mission will have to be way past the spring of 2021, and things will definitely change. We don't know what the government, or depends on which country we're going to go into, what the stipulations will be, but it's a big thing right now. How do we stay connected? Is it possible to do telemedicine or because sometimes the thing about Caribbean people, African people, we don't trust everybody. I'm going to tell you right now. That's the first thing. They're not even looking for us to come anywhere close to them. So anybody who's thinking about doing a mission, it's a whole nother story. So we thought about how about having satellite, smaller members of our mission in Jamaica or wherever we so decide to go, or Belize or wherever, who will do some of the work until we know what it will be like to go into a particular country and if the people will want us to come. So it's a whole different ball game right now. COVID changed the game.
You know, I remember my grandmother used to talk about like people that would come into the community, and it looks very different when you're going into different rural communities in the Caribbean. And I remember she said that people used to come in and teach the women that clean, what is it? Clean wash better than dirty wipe. What that means? Basically, hygiene is going to be a huge thing that we need to educate everybody about in adapting and surviving this virus. So, you know, there's a lot of conversation about masks, but in the Caribbean, it's not really going to be about masks. It's going to be about hygiene as much as it's going to be about hand washing and not keeping the virus in the, on the surfaces. And so ministry might look differently because it's taken a lot to get Western cultures to get to 100% with hand washing. So can you imagine, people who really don't understand, and that they don't understand when someone wears a mask and it's like this, they don't understand why they're wearing the mask, right? There's a lot of information that we as nurses have to come around our community and say, this is how you stay safe. If you're wearing the mask and you're touching the outside of it and touching your face, don't bother. You know what I'm saying? There's information that we have to have them survive this virus, similar to the information we had to go into the community and teach when HIV entered the world. So there's a lot of work that has to happen that we get to do.
And I think to add on to that, Lois, would be not only how to put on a mask, but how to safely take off your gloves and masks and dispose of them properly. Because when I walk down the streets and I see masks and gloves all over the place, I'm like, okay, that just defeated the purpose.
Exactly.
If I pull out a shopping cart at the ShopRite and there's a mask or glove, and I'm like, okay, need a new cart because I have no idea who used this.
Correct.
So as important as putting it on, we have to also teach them how to take it off.
Correct. And that's where the contamination can happen the most, is when you're
taking it off. Right. Absolutely. And with the weather being so hot and humid, you also have to worry about those with asthma and COPD and having to wear a mask.
Yes.
So as an asthmatic, I found like the last few days when we've had this high humidity here that I had issues with wearing a mask. And I'm like, okay, I think I now need to go break out the actual N95 that I've been saving in case I ever actually truly need it.
Right.
Versus my surgical mask or some of the cloth masks. So even today, in preparation for the protest that I was going to, I literally walked around here this morning trying on like 5 different styles of masks so I can make sure that I had one that I knew that with the humidity, it wasn't going to be an issue today. Mm-hmm. So that's another, those that have lung diseases and have to have this mask on and feel like they're suffocating. Mm-hmm. So we have to give them that education as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So any questions from the chat or any questions?
No, they're all shy.
Okay. Well, there's other foods. I just want to, as we were looking over remedies, we didn't really talk about, talked a little bit about lemon and lime and how important that is. My grandmother used to always, have oranges because I think the vitamin C and the benefits, having citrus and vitamin C to help with our immune system. And that's already been researched. There's a lot there. But with this virus also, sometimes they had diarrhea and GI symptoms. And I'm going to tell you from experience, my grandmother would mix up a cup of Bissy tea or boil up, they talked about putting it on the stove, and it really helped with some of the, actually the diarrhea just went away. Like when you finished a cup of whatever my grandmother boiled on the stove, you were good, you were straight. So recognizing that other symptoms that they might have with COVID-19, the diarrhea, the GI symptoms, the aches, the pains, nothing like a hot drink to help just relax you and to take away some of the discomfort from the fever. Anybody have any experience with fever grass?
Dr. Green, not to cut you, but Dr. Karen Dunkley, the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast rep, she has a question.
Sure.
And the question is, should we expect a second wave of COVID-19 in the fall or pretty soon?
Great question. So the short answer is probably. Yeah, because it's here. You know, I think that we can be very narrow-sighted when we're in this country. I have a cousin that lives in Singapore. They went through what we went through in January. So they shut down, and then they reopened, and then they had another wave, and they had to shut down again. And that's in Singapore. Like that, the virus is not going anywhere, and I think it's important for the community to know that this virus is like a cold virus, you know? So how many vaccines do we have for the common cold? Right. So, you know, even as we have been going through the cycles, it has morphed and changed, and they found different strains of the existing one. One of the things that we keep saying is that the message changes every single week. It's something different. When I was counseling nurses at the beginning of this, they were very panicked about, I just don't want my children to get this. When all the data about what was happening with children was very like, they weren't dying, there was nothing happening. Recently in New York, they have that presentation where kids who are COVID, I think like 50% of the kids that were COVID positive had like the Kawasaki's. The good thing about kids is that they elicit an immune response quickly. So they have high fevers for multiple days. You don't miss it with children, but everything changes. So I think the short answer to the question is more than likely, because it is a virus. And if it works like the flu virus, we know we have, you know, flu can be seasonal. And should also mention that you can be co-infected. So if flu season is happening around October, you know that we potentially could see an upsurge. Unfortunately, we have to learn to adapt.
Just real quick, someone on Instagram wanted to know, is the vitamin D good for the corona? Jennifer, what I'd like to say about that, because I was thinking about it, Jennifer, so thank you for typing that question. I think for a lot of us, especially not just women, but men, women of color, we would say, the vitamin D level, we need to check that.
Yeah.
You know, for vitamin D, you need to have your C and so forth. So I think maybe these are questions you're going to ask later, Michelle, about some of the precautions that we ourselves can take is to know our vitamin D level. So I made sure I was up on my vitamin D, those little green pills that you take every week. But what I started to do was that anytime I saw some sunlight, I would text my whole family.
Let's get outside.
I'm like, everybody get out there, get your 20 minutes, do what you need to do. Yeah. So, you know, we're not just thinking of ourselves. So yes, it's important that because our immune system right now, everybody, we have to pay attention to it. Because whatever age you are now, put another 10 years on it. We're going to be the people that they'll say, oh, you know, the people who are in that age group, like, oh no.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, take better care of ourselves, know our numbers. Whether it's your hemoglobin A1C, know the numbers. Just start to take precaution and taking better care of ourselves. We really need to do that. And even at one point when they said they weren't having any issues with children, like you mentioned, it started to happen. Different things, the feet, the blue toes, and all sorts of things. Because we don't really understand this particular disease or virus, whatever they want to call it. Like I said, I have my own, you know, there are conspiracy theorists out there. We all think different.
That's another lie.
You know, that's a whole other show.
We all have that, definitely.
But I think too, and one of the important things, which was to me, the irony of all of this, people were so stressed out. It was as if the whole atmosphere was thick with fear and information that we didn't know. And so from that fear, what happens? The stress. The stress from all of that. And what does the stress, what does it do? It breaks down the immune system. Because we start releasing all sorts of things. Our blood sugar goes up. And what is another thing they tell you? Oh, if you're diabetic, to be careful. It was just like, what do you do? So for me, I found that it was very important that I took time out or encourage others to, you know, let's take some time where we can relax, where we can breathe, where we try not to listen to too much of the media.
Yes.
And I'll just throw that out for anybody else.
No, it's so important.
Know
It is
it. Yep.
so
You had to
important.
shut it off.
We need to laugh. You said the
Right.
immune system, the fear. People have died from fear. They've had, the case where the man was in a freezer and he thought the freezer was on, and he actually died from hypothermia, but the freezer wasn't on because he was so terrified of freezing. So I think a lot of the fear that we saw is we need to recognize it and understand that we're grieving. And as nurses, we understand that the grieving process has many stages, right? We only have about 5 minutes left, so I don't want to take too much time. Is there another question that we can answer, Michelle?
I don't see another question, but I will say walking has been very effective.
Yeah.
Walking has been so relaxing for me. I've been enjoying walking. I know we'll come out of this pandemic, what you call a beetroot and an okra body. That means your body going to be all right and awesome looking when you come out of this pandemic. So I think, and it helps to relax you. Yeah. I have been so happy just walking around my community every day. I'm seeing places and seeing people I've never seen, and I've been here for years. And just allowing your body to relax and just be one with the environment. Because being cooped up in the house will make you very anxious. You're getting chest pains, shoulder pains. You're having pains in places you never imagined, and you're not sick. So I definitely understand the importance of taking care of yourself, like Sharon said, and what Dr. Green has been saying, and what Norma has been saying, because Norma takes care of herself all the time, always looking awesome. Because, self-care is at the core. So ladies, we have like maybe 2 minutes left. Dr. Green, I will let you say your final words and as a moderator, and then we'll take us out.
I just want to say that I think that we need to recognize that this is a new normal for us, and that we shouldn't negate the things that we've learned, how important it is to love on each other, how important the sunshine, all of the wisdom that we've gotten from our culture, we need to implement it in self-care and in the care of others. If there's anything that we can do is try to be the healthiest you that you can be, so that we can be the healthiest community that we can be, so that we can take care of ourselves and take care of each other.
All right. I mean, I think this was awesome. And I have to give kudos to Dr. Claire Nelson, for just really promoting the Caribbean American Heritage Month. Dr. Karen Dunkley, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better Global Jamaica Diaspora Northeast rep. She is just a guru. She is a head honcho. She'll be called walkout ready. And all my wonderful friends and mentors and who came on today as panelists. Let me tell you, Sharon Addison, from her days in the cath lab. Norma, I've been watching you since I was a little nurse student at Rutgers in the Minority Nurse Leadership Institute. So I've been looking up to you from way back when. And Dr. Green, we don't have to put words, but you guys are always supportive. And thank you so much for supporting the Caribbean community. Thanks for supporting my Jamaican community. So once the gates open up, when I have to come to Jamaica, come help my nurses down. Because we're nurses first.
It's cool.
We're nurses first. And nursing is what?
Just let me know what day get the plane.
Exactly.
And nursing is 99% just touch and heal. The 1% belong to the doctor with the medication. We do all the work. So ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
everyone
for
behind
having
the
us.
scenes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and BANKRA Caribbean Cultural Festivals and everyone who made this.
Back to the festival. Enjoy.
Yes.
Yes, Andrew. We forget Andrew. Andrew, big up to you. Big up, Andrew.
Big up.
Big up BANKRA and Brata.
When does the dancing start? It's a Caribbean festival. That's important.
I think it's right after this, guys. We're going to go right into that.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Hi.
You're on, you're live.
Okay. Hi, welcome to BANKRA Caribbean Culture Festival. And this afternoon, I'll be doing the arts and crafts segment, okay? And today, we'll be making a bullhorn, right? Might know it as a loudspeaker. So it's appropriate during this time, so I'm going to, add a little African fabric and also going to use black. I'm using black, but you could use anything, right? So before we start, I'm going to tell you what you can go and grab in the meantime. Hopefully you have these items. They're pretty much, you could find them throughout the household. So we have empty toilet roll paper. You might have an empty one. Don't go roll off your toilet paper now. You can probably just, take notes. And then when you do have an empty one, just save it and you can start your craft. You also need a sheet of paper, right? And if you have cardstock, that's even better, right? Because we need something firm. You need a pencil, a pair of scissors, ruler, some markers, depending on what color you decide to use, and tape with a staple, You're also gonna need something round. I have a circle cutter, but if you don't have a circle cutter, like everybody else over in your house, you can use a plate, right? And the plate could just be the size of the width of a regular paper, which is 11. So as long as it's smaller than 11, right? If you don't have a plate, which I hope you do have a plate in your house, you can use a pot cover, all right? So hope you have everything. Let's get started. First, we are going to take the roll and the paper that you're using, you're going to roll it, right? And move this so you can see. You're going to roll the paper with the toilet paper, and then you're going to mark it, right? This is why you need to have a pencil or anything you could find, pen, whatever marker, and then mark that area, right? When you do that now, you're going to connect your lines. You could do that by drawing your line. Once you have your line, you could just cut. Now, this is only the option if you want to wrap your toilet paper roll. If you don't want to wrap your toilet paper roll, you go ahead and paint, right? Just get a paint on markers, and then you could just start, your own design. You want to write your name, if you want to, whatever you want to do. But today, I'm going to show you how to just wrap it, right? Just using simple paper. Now, as I said, I'm using black, so I'm going to put this to the side. And then I'm going to start rolling, right? So in order to have your paper stuck to your toilet paper roll, you could start by just adding a little tape. I like to use double-sided tape. So I'm going to just put a little double-sided tape here for me to keep it in place while I roll, right? You could use glue also. You could use glue, any type of glue. I have glue gun. You could use glue gun. You could use tacky tape, and you could also use spray mounts, right? Or back in the days where I'm from, we use flour and water, right? Well, we're not going to use no flour and water today, right? So we're going to add this, and then we're going to roll it until we get to the end. If it's not rolling fine, you just move it and then roll it back again, right?